Hello YouTube, welcome back to the channel. First of all, thank you so much for clicking on the video. If you saw my last video, you'll remember that I went full copium mode on the possibility that there would be a Fatal Frame game, a new Fatal Frame game coming to the Switch 2. And guess what? I was kind of right, and that is crazy to me. Well, okay, I wasn't exactly right. I thought it was going to be a new game, but I mean, it's still technically a Fatal Frame game on the Switch too. The Nintendo Direct that just happened announced a remake of Fatal Frame 2 The Crimson Butterfly, which is so exciting. I'm beyond ecstatic. Like, apparently my predictions are just prophecies now. Somebody get me a crystal ball. I'm essentially a witch at this point. Now, for those of you who don't know about Fatal Frame 2 The Crimson Butterfly is essentially known as the crown jewel of the Fatal Frame series. People think that Fatal Frame 2 is the best game in the series, and I kind of have to agree with that. This is the game that really defined what Fatal Frame could be. A slow burn horror story that's drenched in atmosphere, with a tragic and emotional hook that sticks with you even after you finish the game. But with that being said, it wasn't perfect. So today I want to talk about the following: why Crimson Butterfly is so beloved, what people didn't like about it, what I hope the new game can fix while keeping the soul of the game intact, the same feeling that it gave you the first time you played it. Alright, let's start with the positives because there is a lot to talk about here. First, the atmosphere. Crimson Butterfly has some of the best atmosphere in a survival horror game. The abandoned village setting, the foggy forests, the haunted houses. Every corner of this game just oozes with dread. And it wasn't cheap jump scares either, which I think makes it so much more amazing. Sometimes it would just be a ghost walking in the distance and you just have to stare at this thing pass by. And sometimes it'll just be you seeing something out of the corner of your eye, and when you look, it's not there anymore. It gives you the kind of scares that just kind of crawls under your skin. One of the main things about Crimson Butterfly is the story. The story was amazing. The story follows two twin sisters, Mia and Mayu, and they stumble upon a village, and that village exercises this ritual called the Crimson Sacrifice Ritual. The game isn't just scary, it's also very heartbreaking. The idea of losing your twin and being forced into this ritual, it gave the game this emotional weight that most horror games don't have. You weren't just scared the whole time, you actually cared. The next thing is the Camera Obscura. The first game, while it did introduce us to this battle style, I think the second really defined it. Fighting ghosts with a camera instead of swords or guns, that is brilliant. And it really ties into the horror theme and the horror atmosphere of the game. You literally have to look the thing that you're scared of dead in the eye in order to fight it off. You literally have to snap a picture of this thing in order to survive the attack. And to me, that's horror innovation right there. Lastly, the ghosts themselves. Some of these ghosts are absolutely terrifying. From the woman who just hangs herself right in front of you, to the children who just stand there and stare at you. The designs were just complete nightmare fuel. And to this day, a lot of people remember those ghosts. I wouldn't say fondly, but they definitely remember those ghosts. Now, as much as I love the original Crimson Butterfly 2, it did have its flaws. The biggest complaint with these survival horror games is the camera angles. The camera angles were not good. Look, I get it. The fixed camera angles were part of the old school horror charm. But sometimes they were frustrating. You'd run down the hallway, suddenly the camera flips, and now you're running the wrong way. And in combat, good luck keeping a track of the ghost that's going through walls, and while the camera's changing on you, and now you don't know where the ghost is, now you don't know where you are. Yeah, sometimes those camera angles were pretty frustrating. And sometimes mid-fight, you'd end up pointing the camera at the wall and you would lose your bearings. It was awful. Now, Fatal Frame 2 had the same thing that Fatal Frame 1 had, but it took it a step above. The whole point system of how you upgraded your camera. Now, that one, I feel like they did it better in the first one. It didn't feel as much of a task, but the second one definitely made it seem more like you were playing an arcade game. And halfway through the combat, you would start focusing on getting this fatal frame shots, which is when the ghost did a certain animation, your camera ring or the trigger, the crosshairs would turn red, and this is when you would deal the most damage to the ghost, and it would be called a fatal frame shot, and it would give you the most amount of points. But you needed these points to upgrade your camera, and sometimes you just felt like you were forced to do this to make your camera more powerful and make the game easier for yourself. And it started becoming more of a task than it was part of the game, and it kind of took some of that horror element away from the game, because you were more focused on getting points than enjoying the game. One of the other complaints I have is the pacing and the backtracking. This game made you backtrack through the same areas a lot, and sometimes you would just get frustrated, like, okay, I've been down this hallway like 17 times already, like, can I do something new? But it was necessary in order to progress through the story, and sometimes it felt a little tedious. And then there was also the whole availability issue. I know it came out for the PlayStation 2 and it had an Xbox version, but depending on where you lived, it was kind of hard to come by these copies of Fatal Frame 2. This new game definitely has the chance to make the game more available to more people, and that's something to be excited about. So what do I hope this game fixes from its past iteration? First of all, from the trailer, it already looks like they fixed the camera angle. It looks like they went with more of a style from the newer Fatal Frame games, Fatal Frame, Mask of the Lunar Eclipse, and Maiden of Dark Water. It's got that third-person view, with the camera angle being fixed behind the player instead of being fixed like in the corners of the map or the hallway that you're in. So that's already looking great. It'll definitely make the game a little more immersive, and it'll make the combat a lot easier, which is a big plus. The next thing is modernize the combat. Keep the Camera Obscura system, but definitely polish it. Make it a little better. Make the hitboxes clearer. If you want, they could keep the point system to upgrade the camera. That was cool, but at least make it so it doesn't feel like you're playing a spooky version of Time Crisis. And the last thing is amplify the atmosphere with today's technology. Imagine Crimson Butterfly with modern lighting and sound design, the environmental detail that the new graphics can bring. The haunted village is definitely gonna look 10 times scarier with all the new technology that we have nowadays on the Switch 2, on the PS5, on the Xbox, because this game is coming out to multiple platforms, not just the Switch 2. That is something that I did get wrong. I thought the Fatal Frame series was bound to the Nintendo, and that was false information for me, so I do apologize. But it seems like we're getting it everywhere, even on PC, so that is super exciting. And number 4, and I think the most important, is don't lose the heart of the story. The emotional bond between the twin sisters was one of the main things that made this game so amazing, and if they're able to keep that and add on to it with the new graphics and new combat system, it's gonna be completely amazing. And this game won't just be scary, it'll be super impactful to the horror genre. I even heard that they have a new mechanic where if you're with your twin sister and you hold hands, there's this new mechanic around that and forming this bond with your twin sister. So I'm super excited to explore that. So yeah, my copium was rewarded this time. I threw out a wild guess out there, and here we are with Crimson Butterfly 2 Remake, and I couldn't be more excited for this. But what do you guys think? Have you guys played the original? Do you guys agree that this is the best game in the series? And what are you guys hoping that this game fixes? Let me know down in the comments below. I'll try to read all the comments. And if you guys haven't checked out the first one where I spit the copium, I'll leave a card up here or here, wherever it is. Yeah, go check it out, guys. If you enjoyed the video, smash the like button and subscribe for more horror gaming content. I've got plenty more to say about Fatal Frame, Silent Hill, Chronos: The New Dawn, and the whole upcoming wave of horror games that are gonna hit video games in general. Thanks again for hanging out with me, and remember, if you hear a camera shutter in the dark, just run. Book it! Alright guys, thanks again for watching the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.